What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Basem Hanna podcast. Today, we are very fortunate to have a dear friend and incredibly successful entrepreneur, Mohamed Saleh.
I appreciate it.
You know, not the Mo Salah that everybody wants me to.
Yeah.
He's joining us on the podcast today. So Mo is a longtime dear friend who has had immense success in the restaurant industry. He runs a restaurant called Masrawy in Mississauga. Mo, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, man. This is really dope.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Okay, so maybe we'll start off by you just giving a quick intro to everybody, like who you are, what you do.
Okay.
And then we can kick it off from there.
So I'm a young Egyptian, young still, okay? Stop it. Egyptian that was raised in Canada and decided to embark on the journey of restaurateur. And we basically created a authentic Egyptian soul food restaurant that kind of pioneered some of the traditional cookings that you and I would eat at our house, or our parents would make for us, and then turned it into like a vibe for everybody to enjoy.
Dude, that's like legit. It's the best Egyptian food,
Man, I appreciate
that I've ever had. Bar none. Like I love my mom, and she makes specific dishes really well.
Yes.
But like across the board, you guys crush it.
The team goes really hard. Like that's a big shout out to the team. And it's actually flattering because sometimes your mom will come to the restaurant and tell me things like, this is better than, and those are the best compliments. But yeah, we try to make it so that it's for everyone, but at the same time, we don't compromise on anything from the authenticity perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's kick it off. I want to start at the beginning. So I got a few questions. So tell me about your childhood. More specifically, like where did you grow up?
Yes.
And did you grow up poor or rich?
Oh man. Supreme story.
Yeah.
Basically, I've had the blessing of kind of seeing all the different aspects of life where we were very comfortable, the four of us, in an apartment where the family room and the bedrooms are kind of one.
Yeah.
Waiting for Fresh Prince to play, eating pizza. Raptors were just starting. You know what I mean? This was when we first moved to Toronto. So I was born in Saudi Arabia. That's where my father was. When I came into this world, went back to Egypt for a couple of years, migrated to New Brunswick.
Right.
Okay. And from New Brunswick, our family helped us out there to kind of start out our life. And then from there, we went to other family in Ottawa. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we went to Toronto, from Toronto to Mississauga.
Nice.
So in that, my father's actually an entrepreneur himself. Probably, he's my hero. He's definitely the person.
I want to talk about that. Yes. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, he actually worked for...
Your dad's a G.
He's a G. He's an engineer by trade. But he always had this charismatic way of like, he was meant to be an entrepreneur. He was in an aerospace engineering company, which then led him to be given opportunities to work with contracts in the Middle East. And then once those people really took a liking to how he was, he then branched off and created his own, still paying homage to the company he worked for. And that was his first entrepreneurial gig, which kind of changed our life. And then...
That's pretty early in...
That's, I think, like end of high school, university. Yeah, end of high school, university days. That's when we kind of saw, oh, this is what others would say would be like the good life, his hard work. He obviously worked 7 days a week. We barely saw him. He traveled all the time. Probably the most, till now, hardworking man I've ever met in my life. But he's definitely inspired. So through that, we got to see like having nothing. And by nothing, I mean, we still had food and a house to live in.
Right.
But at the same time, we got to see what a comfortable life looks like. And then even that had its own shaky grounds, which we went back from scratch, and you kind of know those stories.
Yeah.
And
we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So, and then we had to start back a little bit from scratch, and through that in itself was a blessing, because that's kind of where I had to branch off. And
so before, there's a good point, because we always talk about entrepreneurs and their own journey, but you were the son of an entrepreneur.
Yes.
what is the main lesson or like the main takeaway that you remember that you have from growing up in an entrepreneurial family?
Honestly, the work doesn't stop. He never, like my father, always had his work with him. And only when I got into it myself, did I realize that you have really no choice. So shout out to my mother, who completely and utterly just was so patient, to let him dwell into his space and become what he needed to be for the success of the entire family, right?
Yeah.
It was just amazing to watch, but at the same time, some days were hard. Like some days, and I don't say this in a sad way or anything. Yeah, you didn't have, he wasn't able to be there for certain things, but he was there to make the environment for us to find. So it's up to you to, and as I'm older now, I realize you have to find your way, right?
For sure. I mean, people don't realize this, but when you start a business, that's a baby. Like that is your baby.
It's my third child.
It's your third child.
Yes.
My fourth. Like what?
Yes.
Like it's it needs time, attention, love, and care, or it'll die.
Absolutely.
And you can't be in two places at once.
Never.
No.
And there's always a sense of guilt all the time because you're worn thin.
I'm always doing something.
Yeah, right. Like either you're not enough of a dad.
Yeah.
Or you're not enough to your business, a boss or an owner. You're not enough. Like you're just not enough anywhere until you realize that there's also a thrill in all of that.
Totally.
Because what you can do with all of that is unmatchable, right?
Amazing. Okay, so I have this theory about entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That oftentimes that they experiment early in their life. So my question is, did you misbehave as a kid?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I misbehaved a little bit. Without going into detail, I definitely...
Oh, we're going into detail,
Okay.
bro.
I experimented a lot trying to be around a lot of different environments.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they lead you in a certain way as you expand and figure yourself out from turning from a boy to a man. And like,
Right.
You're just trying to also... I fed off a lot of like... My personality fed off a lot of other people's energy. Like, I like to be around people. I probably wanted to be at the time, not maybe the center of attention, but you're obviously trying to make your mark as an entrepreneur, whether it be socially, whether it be academically, you're trying to like always stand out. So in standing out, you obviously end up...
Yeah, like
right?
Class clown gets the most attention.
Of course, I was trying to be the class clown. I was trying to be the one that like, yeah, absolutely.
I know that back like very early on in our childhood, we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
But we knew of each other because we grew up in the same city.
Yes.
What was the worst thing or moment that you did growing up? And the reason I ask this is because oftentimes when people are looking at entrepreneurs and success stories, like there's like a halo, right? Like people say, oh my God, like they did this and I'm inspired and this, that, and the other thing. But it's almost more important to the people that watch this that are looking to you as an inspiration to be like, okay, well, if I was a bit of a fuck up early on, how can I like, sometimes it's like, I can't turn it around from here. Yeah. Right. So to that point, what was that moment for you? And you know what I'm getting at. Tell me, what was that?
There's a lot, man. There was a lot. I honestly would probably lie a lot about going out and being out late. And I would try to take whatever money I had. If I was working 3 jobs or whatever, I would take that money and try to multiply it and put it into businesses that perhaps were not like the best of businesses to try to make, you know what I mean? I tried to... Even though I've tried to mess with option stocks, but I also like...
Okay, let me ask...
Yeah, get more specific.
Okay.
And get more specific.
Have you ever dealt drugs?
No.
No. Honestly, neither did I.
No. I never did.
Consumed
I never did. I never did.
Yeah,
I never did.
Okay. Were you ever a part of a gang?
No.
Okay. Well,
Did I have colleagues that lived certain lifestyles and had to do whatever they had to do? Of course,
everybody.
No, absolutely. And we're, you know, everyone had to get it how they got it.
Of course.
And because of, I think, our personalities, we were friends with the bookworms. We were friends with the ones that had to do whatever it took to make a dollar because they had to provide for their families at an early age. So like, yes, I was part of those things. I never personally did. Actually, a lot of my friends growing up, I don't know what it is, by the blessing of God, they ended up protecting me from that. Right. So I could have easily gone into a lot of things like that and made money the fast way. I had a big network early, but they would protect me. Like, that's not you. That's not for you. And I would always, until this day, I am extremely grateful. Because at a young age, you could be, you know, you could want things really fast and you could want to use those things, but I didn't use those things. No, thank God. Yeah.
Okay. To that point, like, is there a specific moment in your childhood or forget your childhood, just like moving on from that, where you were like, I'm going down the wrong path and I need to turn around?
Absolutely.
Okay. Can we talk about that?
Yes. So I was living a fast life in terms of my life, in terms of my standards, which was I was going out a lot. I was in club promotions during that time. I was at each party, whatever the case may be. And then one night, never told this story on camera. One night, I eventually ended up in a situation, wrong place at the wrong time, where I was the recipient of multiple stabbings, including one to my heart. And this was in 2008, Mother's Day, actually. And
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Happy Mother's Day. I mean, in hindsight, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, but I did flatline. The knife went through my heart into my lung. And I am just really grateful that I got a second chance. But I wasn't a gangster. I wasn't in anything. It was just, I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And by the grace of God, I got a second chance.
What happened after that? Like, what switched in your mind? What triggered? What did that teach you?
I knew that no matter what, that night or that evening or that time period in my life, God had a plan to give me a wake-up call. Because there's no way, if I tell you the story, it will take the whole podcast. But there was no way that the ambulance driver that was at the barbershop earlier that day noticed the car that I was in. My friend, like the friends that acted so quickly, everything that happened where I literally survived by 2 minutes, brain damage by 1 minute. It was either that or it was going to be a car accident or whatever the case may be. But I woke up realizing that although I wasn't living necessarily the worst life or I wasn't doing anything that was bad, what was I doing that was good?
Right.
You know, where was my commitment at in terms of settling down and thinking about starting a family? Where was my commitment to my career, to my job? If I wanted to begin a family, so I completely settled down. And most of all, I got closer to my faith, right? At the end of the day, when you go through a life-altering experience like that, you really have to ask yourself, why were you given a second chance at life? Because a lot of people don't, or they're given a second chance at life, maybe in a paralyzed state or in a handicapped state.
Right.
I was able to recover fully.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Thank all the gods, bro.
Thank God, man. Like, honestly, like it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It changed my life completely in terms of what I valued. It changed my life in terms of how I want to spend my time. Have I regressed a little bit? Sometimes have I had moments where I approached back that lifestyle where I was out and that my priority wasn't myself, my faith, my career? Yes, I have. But I'm always reminded quickly, hey, you got a second chance, because I was living a life where all that mattered to me was partying, friends, going out, meeting people, getting noticed, making money, and it wasn't necessarily conducive to how I would want to live out the rest of my life. Right.
It was like living in the moment versus planning for the future.
100%. It was about, what are we doing tonight? Where are we going? And
okay, that the reason I wanted to bring that.
Yes, no one actually asked.
Because when you told me that story, like, I've known you for a long time, but you told me that story only
in detail.
In detail,
yeah.
And it, like, a lot of people tell you they're like oh shit story or but like that one is very, very real, bro. Like you got the scars to prove it, and like and
I had bypass surgery.
like that's crazy.
He saved me by one. I flatlined in the ambulance.
It's about as real of a wake up call as anybody can get.
Absolutely.
And it's more like to that point I was saying earlier. It's really easy to pinpoint success after it's happened.
Yeah.
And not understand that success is like a mountain that is climbed with like many steps of failure and like missteps and things like that in between.
Yes.
So to hear that, because we're about to get to the success, right? But I really just want to paint the picture for everybody.
Well, the success is everything we just talked about. Remember, even coming out of that culturally.
Yeah.
Every single person within our culture, like the older generation, had no choice but to assume that I was into being a gangster, I was selling this, or I deserved it, or I was a fighter. No one was really at the time, was, except for those involved, were able to swallow that this was simply just God's way of waking me up. I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, or the right place at the right time now, in hindsight.
I mean, like, look, if you like, I can paint that picture for you as I'm sure our shared community would. Like,
yeah, and you had to learn how to either defend yourself, all of this is preparation, because when you own a business, everyone has an opinion, and the minute you start saying, if I can be satisfied with what I'm doing, and I know where, what's the English word for naya, the intention?
Yeah.
If I know what the intention is of what I'm doing, and I can literally wholeheartedly say it comes from a pure place, then it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. You get what I'm saying? But unfortunately, you have to deal with that. So I could convince every uncle and aunt, but that I knew that one day the truth was going to come out, and the truth came out.
Yeah.
You know, like once everyone who was involved started saying, well, you know, this is where we were, this is what we're doing, we're simply going to our vehicle, and this is what happened. And once the truth came out, all of those things stopped, and it was like, okay, thank God he's just alive.
You still got to deal with that. Like, you're the son of a successful entrepreneur, like your father. I know you're very humble in the way that you describe your dad and your family, but, you know, growing up, you guys were like the goals. Like, to me, they'd be like, you know, Mo and Khaled and your brother.
Yes,
like,
yes, absolutely.
They're like killing, like they
absolutely
live in the nice house and they do whatever and all that stuff.
Yes.
And then you get like the you know, failure son, right? Like
100%.
And like the reason I resonate with that story so much is like it's very similar to mine. You know? Like you get a lot of we didn't grow up super wealthy, but my sister is an angel. And like me compared to her is a tough comparison.
Yes,
you know.
Yes.
So
I'll tell you one thing though. My father, even through all of that, he never didn't believe me. He never questioned what I was doing. He thought it was a part of growing up. And I remember just every moment when he flew back, because he wasn't with us that night.
Yeah.
He sent me a text message, and for all the fathers out there and mothers who have an instinct, go with it. He sent me a text message as he was flying out that night to go do business. Hey, son, I know you're going out tonight. I have a bad feeling. I would prefer if you don't tonight, just one night. And I received that message when I came out of the hospital on my Nokia slider phone. I'll never forget it. Reading it 2 weeks coming out of the hospital, afterwards, and realizing how could he have possibly known? And it goes back to like, they just have supreme instincts. So he never made me feel what anyone would.
A father's love, man. A parent's
love. He didn't care. He wasn't like, I'm ashamed of you. How dare, what were you? He knew, he trusted every word that I told him. So and that was one thing that was amazing about him. He let my brother and I, you know, every parent wanted us to be engineers, doctors.
Of course.
He looked at me, he was like, you're not. I've seen your chemistry grades. I've seen your biology grades. I've seen your, you know, like you're a people person, and which led me into the marketing world.
Okay, that's an excellent transition to my next question.
Yes.
What did you study in school?
So I
Did you go to school?
Yes, I did go to school. I had the privilege of going to school because, remember, from not having something during the time when the family actually was doing well, we were able to go to university.
Thank God.
And thank God. And it was obviously the family supported us with that. And that's a privilege. And I know that. I was able to study marketing as my undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
I was the first alumni at Guelph Humber, which was a joint program, which was actually epic. Shout out to Guelph Humber and all of the people that were teaching us then. And then I ended up doing my master's in marketing, my MBA, international marketing major at the University of Liverpool. I did a couple of certificates for, like, I just, that's when life was serious for me. I did a project management certificate at Schulich. I was like, if I'm going to go in business, and under all of the uncles and aunts and everyone was like, your son's not going to be an engineer, your son's not going to be a doctor, I had to, my father giving me the freedom to study business freely.
Right.
And I guess follow in his footsteps.
Yeah.
I needed to be like something different. I needed to be something big. And at the end of the day, I wasn't going to let him down. And I simply just was obsessed with marketing. Like, I was super obsessed. I'm the kind of guy who goes to the movie theater early to watch commercials, to see what is it that they're trying to do, to try to see like how they can get
You're
to
looking
us.
at the technical aspects of this thing.
Exactly. Like I marketing is a science.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about like the lead up to Masrawy, right?
Yes.
Did you always want to open a restaurant?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
So if not, what was the original plan?
The original plan was to open some sort of business that I love and could be like, it would be something I used to think of, like opening like, you know, a cool barbershop that had a detailing spot. And I was really into cars. I loved like the in barbershop environment, something for us.
Right.
It had to be something that wasn't created before. But I think growing up, and I've said this on other podcasts or other interviews, so you and I growing up here, there wasn't a lot of Egyptians here,
No.
right? So one thing that made us really special was, yo, you're Egyptian. Yo, that's so exotic, bro. Yo, do you know about the pyramids, bro? Yeah. And just growing up at a young age, it was something that was always like a flattering part of like the compliment of when you tell them. So it was like proudly, yeah, I'm Egyptian.
Right.
Yeah, I'm Egyptian. Even though, how long did I really live in Egypt? You know what I'm saying? Like I can't, you know, but I proudly claimed that because it made me different.
For sure.
It was a stripe on your shoulder that like I can identify as something different. So I knew that our culture had not been exposed to our society yet here, especially in the city we lived in.
Not properly.
Not properly.
Yeah.
Our food, our culture, our food, our music, and most of all, our mannerisms, how we were. Egyptians, even amongst the Middle East, are some of the most lighthearted, funny, hospitable human beings on the face of the planet.
I mean, I'm biased, but I agree.
And I'm saying that because I've been also privileged to go see so many cultures, and I can stand very strongly and say it was part of the upbringing. Whenever someone came to your house, you'd have to step up and make them feel like kings and queens, no matter who they were. You had to.
That's beat into you at a very early age.
That's beat into you. Yeah. It's like being hospitable was just part of our upbringing, no matter
Show
what.
up at somebody's house without a gift. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Show up to somebody's, not standing up, making sure everyone felt at home in your home, no matter what they were, where they were, who they were, no matter their class, no matter whatever it was. Everyone just felt amazing. And I think that's what Masrawy is.
Okay, so you're not intending to open up a restaurant.
Yeah.
2008 is a big year for you.
Big year.
Big year for me is actually when I met your dad for the first time.
2008?
Terrace End.
2008?
2000. No. 2014. Sorry.
2014.
But that's when did Masrawy start?
Masrawy started I started catering.
You started catering.
I started catering in 2014.
Your dad mentioned it to me when we were doing our thing.
Yes. Wasn't necessarily everyone, like, no one thought it was going to go where it was going to go.
So I'll tell you like from my, so backstory for everybody. When we first started Terrace End, it was no one really believed in cannabis.
Yes.
Like it was a grind to get money. I ended up fortunately in a room with your dad and your brother, because he works with your father. And we got to talking about the cannabis stuff and they loved it and all that good stuff. But when I asked about you, he's like, oh, he's doing some catering thing, like very like passive, you know? So I really want to hear the genesis of this. And for those, because I don't think we've accurately described what Masrawy is.
Yes.
Masrawy is a single. Well, it started off as a restaurant, catering first. Then it became a restaurant.
Yeah.
Now it is an institution in Mississauga. Like they are lineups out the door every day. I will show you enough respect not to ask you about your numbers, but he does crazy revenue and crazy profit. And I know you're too humble to say any of that. So the reason you are the true definition of like a successful entrepreneur. You built this thing from the ground up. So I really want to hear about the Masrawy story because like, what is it? Like 10 to 15% of restaurants succeed at start. So you are truly an anomaly.
Yeah.
And even amongst successful restaurants, you are like up there.
Thank you.
So let's hear it. Catering 2014.
Catering 2014. Come up with the idea. I was working with a non-for-profit. I still was PR for the aerospace company. And I was also trying to do a lot of like non-for-profit stuff for the company and focusing on like doing stuff with Egyptians. So what ended up happening was a couple of events were where we were gathering people together. They required food, and I met this amazing human being who ended up kind of like I asked like it was like a group of people, like, you know, let's do a Taste of Egypt competition.
Right.
And then that led to an amazing human being being able to outcook the rest. And I had then asked, would you like to, you know, do some other events with me? And then which that led to me having I started like looking into like, what does it take to open a business? I kept looking left or right. Everyone who came to our house growing up would love our parents' food. Like I'm talking about non-Egyptians, right? Like, and they would love our parents' food and be like, you know, like, where can I get this? I've told this story a million times. It just didn't exist.
Right.
So the idea of catering Egyptian food at a professional level, and I knew that I could do it in a way that hadn't been done before because of my marketing background.
Right.
Because I studied the game of music. I studied the game of entertainment. I studied what it was to create a brand. And I also had a company with my business partner, Michael Curlew, shout out to him, Mimo Design. And that was a brand imaging and consulting company. So I could build a brand. You know, I am very confident.
I believe that.
I don't want to be humble in this one moment. I can build a brand, right? Because I believe in the product. So that being said, ended up starting catering and started from the houses, okay? Like catering from home. And then through the network, right, ended up getting a couple of jobs where we needed to be PL Health certified, which then led us to going to other restaurants that weren't doing well and renting out their back of house so that we can get certified. Started doing that, and then the contracts kept getting bigger, so we ended up renting commercial kitchens. And then after that, ended up taking the leap and building a commercial kitchen, a mini one that just passed PL Health certification. No hood, no gas lines, just all electric. I did my first big investment in a Rationale oven. I don't know if you know what that is.
I don't.
A Rationale oven is like the Ferrari of ovens, okay? It's like an oven that basically can control your dry heat to moisture ratio, and you can do multiple trays at once. So boom, now I can do a wedding. Now I can do an engagement. And the team was so phenomenal that we ended up just embarking on like trying to do these projects. And it kept getting bigger. Social media was now starting to come in. You're trying to learn how to use your Instagram, your Facebook at the time. Facebook predominantly.
Sidebar, how many followers do you have on, how many
TikTok?
followers does Masrawy have on, let's go TikTok, Instagram.
So Instagram, we're blessed with 61.2 thousand. TikTok, we're at 115,000.
God bless.
But
for a restaurant.
For a restaurant,
I mean, no, it's not a restaurant anymore, but look.
No, it is. And to be honest with you, it's been the funnest part of the business. Like,
I love it.
It's been like super amazing to just be able to be creative, and
your content is top notch.
Thank you.
Top notch.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
It actually reminds me of like Egyptian tamsaliye.
Yes. Yeah. Like, yeah. It's when that, and essentially that's what the restaurant is.
Yeah.
Every day is something crazy. So actually I vent through social media. So if I wanted to create what actually kind of happens with an exaggerative comedic tone, we'll put it on social media. We'll create it that way.
Teach me.
Yeah. No, you're the best, man. Stop.
Okay. So you're doing the catering. It's growing. It's big. When do you decide I'm going to lay roots and I'm gonna
when
open up.
every single customer is saying, I really love the food, but I cannot pick up a tray.
Right.
I cannot pick up a tray. When are you going to open something where I can just buy for myself? Our children love your food. I want to feed this to the family, but I don't want to pick up catering trays.
For sure.
And it was over and over and over until essentially there was an opportunity, and it was a big risk, which comes back to the family.
Yeah.
And when you have a dream, at that point in time, I'm married. I have 2 kids. My son is just born. My daughter is about 3 or 4 years old. My son is just born. And you're looking at your partner and saying, hey, I want to take a big leap. I want to take a big leap of risk.
Yeah.
And it's going to be make or break. We make this,
We're great.
we're great. We don't, we're moving out of this house. We have no house. We have no cars. We have nothing.
Dude, I can't believe you had that conversation.
Yeah.
By the way, your wife's an angel.
I appreciate it.
actually.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I had the exact same conversation with Marina when I was starting Terrace.
Yes.
I'm like, hey, I want to do something. We're gonna go broke,
Yes.
or we're gonna be okay.
Yes.
And
And essentially, she had been watching the catering progress happening, and she had been seeing how hard it was to go like on your own with like big thermal boxes and go deliver and come back at night while you're working your other job. Of
course.
Because this is a side hustle at the time.
were you doing? What was your full?
So I had the company with Mikey, and I was also PR managing all of the PR for ML Group for the aerospace company, right? So it was multiple things at once, and I think that with how big it was getting and the buzz, the best thing I ever heard was, if you win, we win together. If we lose, we're together. If we have to start from scratch, we start from scratch. And at that point in time, as a man, you don't feel like you're ever going to hear an I told you so.
Right.
If you fail. So when you can perform, when you can play a sport, when you can do everything without being worried that you're going to sub off or that you're going to have someone really, and who knows?
Yeah.
Because I didn't at the time have to see that, thank God. Who knows what would have happened, but she made me feel entirely during the whole process that just go, just fight. I got these kids. I got this. I got that. Don't worry. And at that point in time, you're just like, okay, I have a shield on my back. Whatever happens, we're in this together. Let's go.
Like, shout out to the support system that every successful entrepreneur has.
Yes.
Most likely your wife or husband.
Yes.
Unsung heroes.
Absolutely.
Like nothing without.
Yeah, and if we live for our children,
Yeah.
they in my case it's my wife, in other cases like you said it's the husband or the family member, but when everything else is kind of taken care of and you're allowed the space to focus and go back home and rant and ask questions and get advice, and not only that, have the person sometimes even pick up shifts where you cannot pick up because your legs are not working anymore. You know, like especially in the restaurant, that's irreplaceable. There is no business without that.
Also, like a little thing, a nuancey thing, because you talked about it, like ranting. But you know, as an entrepreneur, you have success, but more days you're dealing with adversity or failure.
Bro, I tell everyone all the time, there wasn't one mistake. There wasn't one very costly mistake that I haven't made.
Yeah.
And I still make them.
Say,
I still, till this day, every single mistake it took, or learning lesson, I guess now that we call it that.
yeah.
I made every mistake in the book. I was never a restaurateur. I never understood the business, even though I hired consultants and hired whoever I could and tried to find enough resources to make sure these things happen. I was constantly met and faced with realizations that, hey, I could have done this so much more efficiently. I could have done this better. I made this mistake. I gave this too much energy when I could have given this. All the time.
You may have a master's in marketing, but you had a PhD from the School of Hard Knocks.
100%. PhD I had a PhD in failures, man.
Yeah.
Legit. Like legit. And I proudly say this, it takes like 1,000 failures before you actually get to see or reap any kind of success. And it tastes that much better.
Yeah. That's the one thing that I like to drive into when people come to me and they're like, hey, you know, I love what you're about and I want to do this. I'm just like, they're like, how? I'm like, well, you better get real comfortable with failure. Like there's no like you said, like I've made so many little and big mistakes.
Yes.
But those are the things that like ingrained in your mind. Like it tends to be like, if you don't learn the lesson the first time, you are destined to repeat it until you learn it.
100%.
But then when you learn it, you're so much better for it, and it builds on each other. There's like this, there's an incremental effect where it's like, okay, I made this mistake here and I made this mistake here, but now I know both these mistakes, and I won't make this third mistake because it's a combination of these two, basically, right?
Yes.
So, and then you level up.
Yes.
Right? And then when you're there, you probably make a mistake, you come back down a little bit, $100, not like to base level, and then you move back up, like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, sometimes 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
And you hope that sometimes when you do end up going back to base level, sometimes the mistakes are deep.
It happens.
That you have just enough left in you, because now you know the know-how.
Yeah.
You know what it took to bring you down, or you know, like, so just enough resources and just enough left in you to travel through that same path again, but you're not going to make the same mistakes.
That's right.
So you're going to get back,
a different person,
but you just can't be defeated to the point where you can't get back up.
I mean, are you, for my, maybe like a random question is like, are you even close to the person you were in 2014?
Absolutely not. Not even a chance. I wish I could talk to that guy.
What's changed?
Oh man, I think
you know what, even better question. What would you tell that guy?
What to value in life. Like, if you could tell that guy something like, you know, in your 40s, you stop really caring what everyone thinks about you.
Yeah.
And in your 20s, you really care. In your 30s, you know, you're coming into your own. But like I said in the beginning of our conversation, when you know what your intention is, anything that happens, good or bad, this is by the will of the Creator, right? Yeah. So you have to be okay with that. And you have to know that sometimes when you're given certain things back then, like when I told you that story that happened to me, like very innocently, just like I said, wrong place at the wrong time, ended up saving a situation that could have been far worse. It was literally the best thing that ever happened to me. And I couldn't tell that person, I couldn't convince that person at the time.
No.
But now, here I am at 40 years old, thanking God for every single thing that happened to us, right? So I guess just trusting and having faith and putting that as a priority, I would tell that person, the younger me, that person. But also, just all around, like,
and it's okay to learn the hard way. Like it really is.
I'm the kind of person that had to touch the hot stove and get burnt to realize not to do it.
That's why we get along so well. We're both at the stove together.
Yes.
We'll go together.
Yes.
We'll touch.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. When was the first real sign, or like in your heart, where you're like, Masrawy's successful? Like, what was that moment? Because I have a few moments that I've seen for you, and I'm like, shit, like this guy is...
I'm not even going to try to say cheesy stuff, but I'm going to be so real with you right now.
Be real. If it's cheesy and real,
it's okay. When I had, I think, our first 1 year anniversary, and the look on the face of the team members was that they were genuinely so happy to be a part of this thing that hadn't been done before. Like, genuinely appreciative, genuinely safe, genuinely just like in a place of momentum where the team members, my family members, I guess, you know, when we, in hindsight now, like, we are family.
For sure.
Who we work with, I see often more times than friends and family I have.
Family.
Exactly. When they can honestly say, I'm so happy to be here. This is where I want to be. And they said, what are we doing next? What are we doing next? What can we do? Like, these are the kind of conversations I'm having up until now, where it stops being about, like, I don't know who decides what success is. To me, sometimes I would say success would be a healthy work-life balance. Some people would say success is, you know what I mean? Like, there's different definitions. For me, success is...
I haven't achieved that level of success.
That's at all. At all. I mean, I'm sorry I was even late today.
Oh, God, are you?
But, like, genuinely, and I mean this, I'm not trying to sound cheesy at all, like, when your team members are just as happy to be there and just as happy to better the product as you are, and feel, and you feel this way too, that this is all of ours, you know?
How big is the Masrawy family now?
By the grace of the Creator, we are approximately 60 staff right now. 60 staff.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And they're the best.
You are, as a group, like that, you support 60 families.
Yes, and I want to take this time to also say, even the ones that are no longer with us, that were part of the lessons that we learned, that were part of, for whatever reason, we ended up like you know, God took us on different paths.
Mm-hmm.
I'm forever grateful, and forever supportive of whatever it is that they may need, and from past, present, and future. Whoever you break bread with,
of course,
right? Like that person that's in the back right now, back of house, who's doing everything in their power to put out the food in the best quality. That person in the front who's managing or serving or bussing or cleaning or whatever the case may be, they're all contributing to the success of the food that's put on your children's tables. And if you're not doing twice as much for them, then what are you really doing this for? You get what I'm saying?
I couldn't agree more. And I'll give you like a even like one up, or not a one up on that, but like to add to that, even the haters, you know, like even the people that bring you down, that talk shit, that do, or like that don't support you, do whatever. There's love for them too. Because,
the most love.
Because what people don't understand, or at least that I've started to come to realize, those people in their own way, they're teaching you what you need to do better.
Exactly.
Right? Like
they're pushing you to your limit. They're pushing you to be better.
Totally.
Think faster, be more efficient.
They're giving you brutal criticism.
Yes.
And it's your job to take that and filter through the emotion.
Yeah.
And then pick up the pieces that you're like, this is what's going to make me better. Not for that.
Yeah.
But for you.
100%. And part of the core reason why, if someone was to deem Masrawy successful, would be the fact that in the restaurant till this day, remember, we're cooking a type of food or giving a type of experience that's very niche, but it's for everybody, right? So a lot of people in the beginning were like, why are we going to Masrawy? I can cook this at home.
Yeah.
You know, and even in the restaurant, in the menu, we say, under Mama's Molokhaya, nothing can compare to Mama's, although like basically we're trying our best to come as close. In the beginning, every single criticism that was said, hey, you should add more of this, you should, and trust me, every family,
every ton,
you're calling yourself Masrawy. Every tant, every ammo, every single person that walked in, you're calling yourself Masrawy. Hanshuf. It was Hanshuf means we'll see. You calling yourself Masrawy? Oh, we'll see about that, because it didn't exist. By the way, if you tried a little bit of this or if you tried a little bit of that, and you know what? Sometimes they were 1000% correct. Till this day, if the customer or the client cannot pull and say, can I speak to the manager? Can I speak to the owner? By the way, this was my experience today. This was good and this was bad. Then we didn't do our job. It gets bad when they don't feel comfortable enough to talk to you and they just walk out that door. Right? And sometimes you're not there. You couldn't save a moment. I didn't save every moment at all. But you better believe that if we are there as a team and as a family, I stop. You know what one of the keys to success is? You stop chasing the money. Don't chase the money. I chase the product. Are you happy when you leave this restaurant? Are you happy when you watch our videos? Are they cringeworthy? Or are you literally genuinely laughing? Is your child asking you, hey, Mom, can we please go to Masrawy today? I really want to eat that. If you're not after that, because if you're chasing the dollar, you're not going to be able to be the best boss to your team. You're not going to be the best leader. You're going to constantly be looking at the bottom line. You're going to be constantly looking, how can I make things more affordable? No. If you concentrate on quality and you have good faith and a good support system and you do everything with the right intention, you're going to be successful. Because it's your product at the end of the day. I can't stand behind. I couldn't market something I didn't believe in. That's why I love this so much. I genuinely believe that we have the best food in the city. I genuinely believe that we have something for everybody. I genuinely believe that no matter what your background is, no matter what your faith is, no matter what your walk of life is, whether you're wearing a 3-piece suit or you're in your shorts and a t-shirt, you are going to have the best experience at Masrawy.
Okay, you brought up faith.
Yes.
And this is
Huge.
This is a big one, especially in our community.
Yes.
Because you've done something that I have seen very few people do.
Yes.
Which is bridge the divide between, like seamlessly bridge the divide between
Yes.
the Egyptian Muslim and Christian communities.
Yes.
I walk into your restaurant and I'll see people from my church. I'll see people from the like from the mosque. Like you know, like
100%.
it's unbelievable. Like food is like it's like.
Yeah, I get the goosebumps every time we talk about that. Yeah,
dude, it's nuts. Like so. My question, because that like, which is like, one, how did you do it, and two, knowing that you have the moniker of a role model in the broader Egyptian community, not just within like faith-based pockets of our community.
Yes.
Which is, by the way, like that's something from like Egypt. Most people that come here don't bring that shit with us.
Yes.
How did you do it? What is the entrepreneurial lesson that you can take there? Because like religion is like the hottest of hot button subjects.
100%. To be honest, I'm so happy you asked me that, because it was
real, dude. It's like,
one of the realest wake up calls I had, because I did not know of the divide. Because like you said, when we grew up, I'm at St. Mary's Church playing basketball.
Yeah.
No one treated me different. And then obviously all of my Coptic brothers and sisters that are eating at my house were family. Not once is religion brought up as a negative thing or at all. What I ended up realizing when I opened the restaurant was how big the divide was. Now, by the grace of God again, the first person that I had the pleasure of making a manager, she happened to be Coptic. Right? And I want to shout her out, Viola. She is my right hand at the restaurant, and we both had not experienced we didn't know what was coming. And essentially we started seeing and hearing some of the things through the grapevine regarding faith. Through regarding faith-based opinions or faith-based stuff. And to be honest with you, religiously, and I'm going to take it back to even my faith and your faith. We are not in any way, shape, or form different. We are the exact same. We pray to the same creator. We believe in one God. At the end of the day, we're all trying to be righteous people. So I never had that in me. So I remember specifically a specific situation where there was one time where Viola and I were kind of standing in front of the restaurant, like kind of facing, and people were coming in. It was one of the earlier busy days. And there was a priest sitting there eating and enjoying his food. And a Muslim sheikh had walked in. And literally, they both got up and greeted each other in the middle of the restaurant with 2 kisses, a hug, and they grabbed each other from this part of the arm very tightly. And I looked at her and she looked at me, and I'm like, we did it.
That's goosebumps, bro.
We did it. All of the stereotypes, every barrier that had ever been made by humans, not by us, by politics, not by us, by things that you and I have no control over, nor do you and I care about. Because it's usually someone that's like a third party that tries to divide and conquer. In that moment, I looked at her and I said, if everything went away today, we did it. Because this is bigger than anything we could provide.
You did do it, dude.
Right?
You did.
Until this day, the Coptic and Muslim community at Masrawy completely and utterly feels like home. And that goes for everybody else. Hindus, Sikhs, Jewish brothers and sisters. Every single person, from no matter what your walk of life or faith, walks in and feels at home. But it was one of the biggest things, wake-up call, that it existed. I didn't know how deep it rooted it was.
I'll tell you, so like, so for those that don't know, I don't even want to get into this actually, but like, there are people, and I'm sure this exists in every culture, where they look for reasons to, say me versus you.
100%.
Right? It has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with
exactly
like the true faith believers, because religion is meant, like you said, to make you better.
Yes.
And the people that tend to like weaponize it,
Yes,
have no real passion or faith, like
for their own faith.
Faith. It's not imposturing.
You cannot be a faithful person in any religion and have a drop of hate,
of course,
for someone because of their faith. You cannot be. I cannot be a good Muslim and have hatred for someone because of their faith. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't exist. And same with you, as a wonderful Coptic brother of mine. I haven't seen an ounce of you. And I call you my brother because you are my brother. No, you're my brother, like for real.
Much together.
And the idea that this was even a topic was
but it needs to be said, because everybody pretends like it doesn't exist.
You're right.
It doesn't exist much anymore, and it's because of people like you and the restaurant that you created and the love that you show.
Yeah,
like the community, whatever that is, because community doesn't mean where you started; it's what you build
exactly
over time.
Yes.
Okay. Last work-related question, because that was beautiful, and I kind of want to end on that. But
yeah.
When are you opening a second location, dog?
Man, so honestly, like that has been a lot of people ask.
Yeah. I think I've like been asking.
Yeah.
My entrepreneurial life.
So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of like address this. I've watched. So Masrawy is home authentic Egyptian cuisine, meaning it's like a tabikh.
Yeah.
It's home cooking. Okay. It's not, with all due respect, sandwiches, shawarma, burgers, things that can be replicated with ease.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very attached to the brand and what it provides, with everything that this interview exposed what it provides. It's not food. Mm-hmm. This is bigger than food. I like to protect
food for the soul,
right? I like to protect it and what it is. So opening, I've watched other restaurants that do home cooked meals and like you know, like have like authentic cooking as part of their product. Try and maybe duplicate and open. It's not as easy as one would think, because the last thing you'd want is someone from the community being like, or someone that loves our food being like, by the way, the place in Richmond Hill doesn't taste as good as the place in Mississauga.
Really?
Ala fikra il tasha, or sorry, yeah, like by the way, like because every single aspect of Egyptian cuisine takes so much time and effort and labor. We have created a system where we can get that out. Yeah. But I strategically want to secure all of the pillars of our first location, because we are going to be renovating our first location to kind of be able to like not have those lineups that you speak of, because that is one thing that sometimes people, because of the space, I'm not saying, oh, we're so amazing. No, it's just because of the space that we're in.
You've outgrown it.
You know, like, yeah, so it's very difficult. Thank God. So but if you don't act quick, it could work against you, right? So that's you running. That's me running my business. However, I just want to make sure that it's quality over quantity. So we do have things in the work, and it will be multiple locations. It just may not be Masrawy in Mississauga will always be the staple. Mm-hmm. Masrawy will be where you go in and get the full dining experience. By the blessing of TikTok and Instagram, when someone lands at Pearson Airport, YYZ, and they're saying the first place I want to go to eat is that place, it becomes a destination spot.
Right. It
holds its value, and its value comes from the blood, sweat, and tears of those 60 team members. I want to preserve that. You understand what I'm saying?
Quality.
And sometimes when you open too many too quick, as you have seen without mentioning any other names, it doesn't work out, right? It doesn't work out. Yeah. It becomes a bottom line thing where you're looking at an Excel spreadsheet.
Look, the minute you call me and you tell me that there's private equity guys sniffing at your door, we'll have that discussion.
They do. I'm not going to lie, they do. I've had to turn down some things that you would be like, what? And until this day, I don't know if that was the case, but through my experience of watching what others, how they succeeded or how they failed, it just didn't taste right. It didn't feel right.
Bro,
quality over
your
quantity.
Heart and your gut have brought you to here.
Yes.
And don't let my impatience for your success dictate anything. I just want to see my brothers and sisters like thrive always.
Yes.
And that's why I'm like, if you make this on 1 times 2, it'll be better.
Yes.
Okay, last question. Given everything that you have on the go right now and everything that you do,
yes,
what are your goals now?
My goal is
What do you strive for now? It's not money. You're already successful. Like what keeps you going and wakes you up for the next chapter?
So I don't know if this is the right way, but I'll be completely brutally honest. I've never deemed us successful because I think once you deem yourself successful, it's kind of like you reached it.
I got you.
So that's how I work. I work like every day this could be taken away from me. And if it's taken away from me, it's all of those mouths that it feeds in the community is to uphold that. So that's what wakes me up in the morning. Another thing is the fact that we have a lot of growing to do. We have an excited staff member.
I told you.
Yeah. We have an excited team that wants to grow and wants to make this. Should we continue?
Yeah, keep going.
Wants to grow and wants to make this into something great. We have ideas that haven't even been done before.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that the same way we started Masrawy and it hadn't been done in the way that we did it, what I have planned is also some risky like concepts that haven't been done before, especially with our cuisine. Awesome. And I'm excited to bring it to our city and other cities around. So
I cannot wait. I don't know if proud is the right word because I like have nothing to do with your success, but of
course you do. You support all the time.
I'm as a friend, I'm proud of you. You've done incredible things, and I know like the trajectory that you took in your life and where we are and where you are right now. It's amazing. It's inspirational. A message to the young people that watch this and are inspired.
If you are inspired, I'm truly humbled. If I can be a guide in any way, shape, or form of what to do and what not to do, let me be that. Because essentially, if your investment shouldn't just be for this life. Your investment should be for what are you leaving behind? What kind of legacy are you going to leave for the rest of the people that are counting on you, the rest of the people that are looking up to you, the rest of the people that need you? What legacy are you leaving behind before you go? Use that as motivation. And the idea of not giving up and not take away all distractions. Remove anything that's distracting in your life and focus on bettering yourself bit by bit, and you will be successful, because success is what you define it to be. Even if it's sleeping at night, knowing that you are a pure person who is making a living in whatever way you are, especially as men. I can speak on behalf of men because I'm a man. Especially as men, I would like to say that being able to provide and being able to just look in the mirror and know that you've done everything in your power to create a safe space where people can grow, right? Where your community can grow. Just go for it. Just go for it. Don't look back and make mistakes. Make every mistake and just get back up. Make every mistake. I know everyone says that, but literally do it.
It's real.
And then be okay and get back to your roots. And always, always, always put God first. I really mean that.
Dude, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Like I feel like my heart is full today. So,
brother, look where we are.
You've
created a space for me right now to sit down with you and speak on things I have never spoken of. This is as much as you say you're inspired with me, I'm beyond inspired of what you've accomplished. I'm beyond grateful for your friendship. I'm beyond grateful for the opportunity that you've given me to just speak to the world. And whoever's watching, I hope you enjoyed it. But I'm grateful for you, man. I really mean that, man.
That's a two-way street for real. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Basem Hanna podcast. For those of you that want to try Masrawy, it is in Mississauga, located on Britannia. What's the address?
2275 Britannia Road West.
And I cannot more highly recommend an Egyptian restaurant in Canada. Mo, thank you for taking the time to be here.
Thank you.
Until next time, have a good one.